In this lesson, we're gonna see how to emit smoke from fast-moving object. So make sure first you open the scene called rocket smoke start, okay? And now if I go and play the animation, you'll notice we have simple animation, okay? And now let's create the container by going to flutes and then 3D container. And let's move the container somewhere here. And I want to select the emitter and move it inside the rocket, okay? And another thing I want to do in the fluid emitter, I want to change the emitter type to volume, okay? And let's scroll down and change the volume type to cylinder, okay? And let's rotate the cylinder something like that, and let's scale it a little bit, okay, something like that. And now we need to parent the emitter under the circle, okay, because if I hit play, as you see, the emitter is not following the circle. So let's select that and let's select the circle first and then shift and select the emitter, okay? And let's go now to rigging and let's go to constraint and let's click on parent, okay? So now if I hit play, as you see, the emitter following the rocket. And as you notice, the container is not following the rocket. So we need to select the fluid container and let's scroll down to auto resize and let's click on auto resize, okay? And now if I hit play, you'll notice the container is following the rocket too, okay? Let's go to the camera, okay, and see, okay. And the next thing, I want to go to fluid container, fluid emitter, and let's change the rate to 300. And let's see. And you'll notice here we have a problem. If I go to fluid shape and increase the base resolution to about 50, and now if I hit play, as you see, because the rocket is moving too fast, we have these gaps between the smoke, okay? As you see, they are like particles. And we can fix that in very, very easy way in Maya by going to fluid emitter. And just we need to check the motion streak. This is a very powerful feature in Maya and it's really easy. As you see, in one option, I fixed this problem, okay? Now you'll notice we don't have that problem now. Okay, and another thing you see, we don't see the density, okay? And we need to decrease the fluid drop off. So if you decrease that, for example, let's say 0.2, and now if I go and play that, as you see now we have more density in the viewport. And I don't know why this is controlling the density, but every time I decrease this value, okay? So make sure you decrease it. Okay, so let's see the effect again. Okay, great. So now let's scroll down to the fluid emission turbulence, and I think I will change the turbulence type to random, and let's increase that about 3. And let's see if this will make any change. We add a little bit of the turbulence, okay? And another thing, I want to increase the density amount, okay? By coming here to the density and set that about 6. I tested this value, so I am not guessing that. Okay, now you see we have more density. And if you increase the fluid drop-off, as you see, for example, if I increase that, you'll notice now we have less density in the viewport, okay? That's why I told you to decrease this value, 0.2. Works good, okay? And notice how the smoke is rising. So let's go to fluid shape 1, and we can go to contents details, and in the density, we can decrease the buoyancy, but I can go to dynamic simulation too and decrease the gravity, for example, to 1 or 2. We can do that too. And now the density is not rising too much, okay? You can set the buoyancy to 0 too. So now the density will not rise, as you see. Okay, and let's go now again to fluid emitter, and I want to come to emission speed attributes and change that to add. Okay, and I want to inherit the velocity and the movement of the emitter by increasing the inherent velocity, for example, to 50. And let's see, and as you see now, the density is inherited the velocity of the rocket, okay, or the emitter. Let's see it again. Okay, great. And now let's scroll down and see if we forgot anything here. Everything is okay here, I think. Now let's go to fluid shape 1, okay? I want to increase the max resolution because I want to make more details on the smoke. And let's see. And I want to increase the padding. As you see, the density is too close from the edge, okay? So if I increase that, for example, to 2 or 3, this will make some space, okay, between the edges, the surface of the container, as you see, and the smoke, okay? So this is really important. And let's scroll down to the density, and here you'll notice we have the density scale. I can change that, but I think we have a good density amount in the viewport, okay? And the dissipation, I will leave that to 0 because I already have nice dissipation happening here, okay? And for the diffusion, I will leave it at 0. So the diffusion will blur the velocity, okay, or the density. And I will add some noise by 0.1, and let's test it again and see. As you see, now we have some noise. Let's hide the grid. Okay. And I think it's enough for the density. Let's go to turbulence, and let's add a value of 1 for the strength. And let's see. Now we have more turbulence happening on the velocity. Okay. So now let's go to dynamic simulation section, and here I want to set some damping 0.02. I want to slow down the density a little bit over time. Okay, as you see now we have slow motion here, and I want to change the high detail solve to all grids. Okay, let's see it again. And now you'll see we have really good result. Let's add some lighting so we can see the smoke better. Self shadow. Okay. I think the result is pretty good. And for the sub steps, here you see I left that to 1 and the solver quality is 22. Okay, so the substeps in Maya is really weird. So when you change that, the fluid behavior is changing completely. The substeps should improve the fluid behavior, not changing it. So you need to be careful when you change that. Really, you may have completely different results. So this is very important, okay? And another thing I want to mention here in the base resolution, you see it's 50, okay? I didn't make it higher because most of beginners think if they increase the resolution, they will get better result. That's not true. You need to find out what the best value works good for your effect. This is very important. So the best way is to increase the resolution slowly till you are happy with the result. Okay, so be careful about that too. And let's go to our camera 1 and let's see. Okay, great. Try to experiment with the attributes and see how you can do it by yourself. Before I finish this lesson, I want to show you another example. So here you see I have an animation, another animation of a rocket, right? And we have a couple of problems here. You'll notice here we have some noise on the smoke. So this noise didn't caused by the noise attribute, okay? So this is because of the substeps. And another problem, you'll notice when I scroll the time slider here, as you see the smoke is rising like that, okay? We need to push the smoke in this way. So this is the problems, okay? And the reason is we get these problems because this animation is much more faster than the previous animation, okay? It's too fast. So we can fix that by selecting the flute, and let's scroll down to dynamic simulation, and I need to increase the substeps to 2, and the solver quality, you'll notice I set that to 60, okay? And I need to click on emit in substeps 2. And another thing I want to do, I will go to flute emitter, and then let's scroll down, and here we can fix that problem, okay? I talked about that earlier, this problem here, okay? So we need to push the fluid outside the emitter. We can use this attribute, okay, called along axis. So if you set that to 50, for example, now the fluid will be pushed in this way. If you set that to 50 and the fluid comes in this way, you need to reverse that by setting that to negative 50, okay? And now let's cache the fluid. Let's go to FX and let's go to flute, to encache and Maya flute. I did the cache previously, so I will replace that. Okay, the cache is finished, so let's take a look. And you see we have really a good result. And you notice here we fixed that problem too, okay? You can increase the long axis a little bit more to push it a little bit more, okay? And we have nice result. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. See you in the next lesson.